Busy people and lots of yellies, Worcester hipsters and fed up townies. We have more than pizza in common, with two rocks for bookends. New Haven, New Haven, New Haven, between two rocks.
Welcome everybody to Between Two Rocks podcast episode 5. We've coming back after a bit of a delay. It turns out that trying to find guests and do all the scheduling is kind of tricky, but here we are. We are back in Between Two Rocks studio with a fancy new multi-channel recorder, so hopefully the quality will increase, but we'll see. It'll be a learning process. So yeah.
The quality of recording will increase.
Right.
The quality of content.
Do you remember 30 seconds ago when you're like, I'm going to get rid of my keys, and now we're back here listening to your keys.
Jingle jangle.
Do you remember 10 seconds ago when I needed to open another beer?
Yeah, I guess I do remember that. All right. Well, everybody, welcome. My co-host this week is the returning friend of mine, Colin Ryan. Welcome.
Hello. Good to be back.
Yeah, good to have you back. Up here in the attic.
That's it. I'm done talking.
Really
coming in hot.
Snappy, guys.
All right. Good. Yeah, Colin's been on a few episodes as my co-host, so he's back again. Yeah, and our guest this week is the co-owner of Elm City Games, and also the frontman of a band I meant to ask the name of before we started. I think the word Savage might be in it. Or
Savage World. I like
Savage World.
I like that you're leading with like the least. I guess Elm City Games is very New Haven oriented, but yeah, I guess Savage World is too.
Yeah,
great. Fuck it.
What's the problem? Yeah,
fuck it.
It's all good.
You perform in New Haven.
What I mean is like I do other things that most people would like introduce me as doing.
Okay.
Which is cool. Though.
Like what?
I like this.
Is there something you're more known for that I should have mentioned?
I mean, maybe not in New Haven.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But like I'm a notable.
All right. Yes. You also
game designer.
Okay,
what's your
true.
secret talent that no one knows about?
Right.
So Matt, entire hot dog in one bite.
That's all right. So we gotta really unpack this.
Spoiler
the next
alert.
40 minutes is all gonna be hot dog
stuff. Not a secret.
So yeah, Matt Fantastic does. You do own Prettiest Princess games, is that right?
Yeah, although that's actually. I can't talk. Well, I guess I can. We can do a little soft announce because nobody fucking listens to this podcast anyway.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. This is a great place to share your confessions.
Yes, I've listened to almost all of them.
Well, that's right.
Prettiest Princess is a publishing company, and we are. But I have long run it as like a very DIY sort of situation, where money is really not the focus, and I just want to make weird art, and we put out zines and like short runs of weird games and stuff like that. But we have some capital. We're bringing on some partners and starting a new weirdo publishing company called Killjoy, and that is going to be doing a lot more big stuff. Like we are going to be launching at
So just large games, huge games that take up the whole house, right?
Yeah.
Well, potentially.
Life-size chess, that kind of thing.
That's a little trite, but like weird stuff. I mean, like we are definitely
This isn't Harry Potter 1, Colin. Get out of here.
No, but I mean, like we're definitely like a full house game. Like, sure, great. Like we want to do weird stuff, right? I do a lot of work with other publishers. We're going to make stuff with big licenses and mass markety kind of focused stuff. This is really 100% like my weird art house take on games. We're putting out records, we're doing books and zines.
How about a Cosby Show game? No good?
So here's the thing. We would do that actually, but it would be he would be
too controversial. Theo, too controversial.
No. That's not the issue. It's actually we would.
It was a real loaded gun in this situation.
No. I feel like if it was appropriately handled, we would 100% do a game about like fucking the sexual creep tendencies of powerful men in everything, really.
Right? Yeah. I was like,
but like I mean, that would be cool. Like the thing is, like one of the big things, and this is where I'm going to get really pretentious about it, is that game, like tabletop games as an art form, especially when you get outside of like RPGs, have really not matured in a meaningful way, right? So video games, I think we, 15, 20 years ago, had the debate of can games be art, right? And then the answer was, so pretty firmly yes, right? Like, and you can experience very different things with digital games now. You can have like a game like Journey where you literally just,
it was going to be the
Journey
exact game
is
that I...
the point, right?
Yeah.
And then you have, Depression Quest and, like all these weird, awesome games that are making you feel things other than just fun, right? And I think there's a great place for fun. And I make a lot of games that
We're not anti-fun
that
here,
I
guys.
pitch
We
as
just don't
fun.
want to be clear.
Yeah. I theoretically
Fun's
make
still allowed.
Well, I theoretically make fun games for other people at least. But we're going to make fun games too. But it's just really kind of like trying to explore the medium of games as a place we can do more than just have fun or sort of like quasi learn something, right? I have my most critically acclaimed game, certainly not my best selling, but my most critically acclaimed game is a single piece of paper that you destroy in the process, and it is about contentiously dividing your possessions during a divorce.
Nice.
And a lot of people cry. Like I say that, and some people are like, "Oh, that's kind of funny." Haha. No, no, it's fucking sad. It's not good. It's a bad time.
It's not a productive cry though. Maybe.
I mean, some people. I mean, like
It's not even a
like,
feel-good cry. You just feel like shit
sometimes
after.
I feel.
Oh, I mean,
better after a cry.
This is people getting up and being like, "Whoa, this is too real."
Too real. Wow.
Because it's really.
Have you been through a divorce? Is this
Yeah,
something-
I have.
Okay.
I have.
Yeah, I was like, this sounds like something you wouldn't just like. It wouldn't even occur to me to do something like this.
The one that kills me is there's an image of a dog, and that just destroys me because I had a dog. And
Right.
You have to slice it in half with an X-Acto knife. Is
Well,
that part of the game?
so the way the game works, yes, effectively, you're tearing the paper, but basically you're trying to get stuff on one side and the other person's trying to get stuff on the other side. And effectively what you do is to get the things you want, you are destroying the things the other person wants.
Wow.
So like, I really want the house, but I literally am looking at a fucking picture of the kids. And I am tearing them right in half as I'm trying to get the
incredible.
house.
Yeah, this is some
Yeah, no, it's fucking, it's fucked up. It's
man.
great. I mean, like,
What's this game called? Where can we purchase it?
it's called Love Will Tear Us Apart, and it's a free PDF. And you can
okay.
see, you can
Nice.
see why we're starting kind of a new brand,
Yeah.
where people have money and are like, "Hey, you dumb idiot! Like, you should monetize this at least some amount."
Right.
And then the problem is, I'm like, well, I'm kind of not really.
Do you have like a Patreon or something?
We're gonna start a Patreon.
People can be like, I mean, I should probably give this guy $2 or whatever.
Well, I mean, we do
Yeah.
a lot of like donation stuff at conventions where I just like
Right,
put
yeah.
photocopies out. Like,
I was
you
gonna
know,
say, if you don't like making money, you can get into the blog game. It's also ripe with just losses.
Well, so I did game media for a long time.
Okay.
Actually,
Yeah.
we hosted a mildly popular podcast.
Nice.
We're actually looking at doing some more media stuff, but it's tough now because like when you sort of
Oversaturated with mediocre blog.
Yeah, way too
Well,
many
that's
people in the
just- yeah.
podcast market.
Oh, yeah.
man, yeah,
Every
completely.
guy with an attic studio thinks he can jump into the game.
Completely. We actually have a really interesting idea for like a side, just total podcast. But as far as like doing stuff more in the game industry specifically, it's tough when you become like, I'm kind of on the other side to some degree, right? Where it's like, well, I'm not going to like review my friend's game.
Right, yeah, now you're a
like
content
it's,
producer,
yeah,
it's
well,
hard
yeah,
to,
exactly. I'm not going to be
like-
like, hey dude, like you're my peer and your game fucking sucks, right? Like, not that I think that's a good way to review things,
Yeah,
but
that's
even
what
just,
Amazon is for.
yeah. I put it in the YouTube comments.
Nice.
The most measured of all criticism.
Like for like, follow for follow.
So
Are you on that tip? We should say that. Actually, that should be the bumper at the end. You're saving it, right? Like for like, follow for follow.
I don't know what that is.
What are you fucking? Oh god, how
I am a fellow kid, I guess. I don't know.
I
what
am-
yours
I
is.
am- I feel like I'm
is that
older
like
than both
trading
of you.
backlinks from back in the day, or
Yeah,
what?
no, it's a current thing. It's like like the little Twitch streamer. They're like, it's your boy,
Right,
X
yeah.
face, and
Gonna
coming
drop
at you
some racism.
from the thing. Like for like, follow for follow. You know, like that
Right,
kind of
right.
weird
Yeah.
shit that the kids are into.
Yeah.
But what does it mean, like for like, follow for
So like
Trade
if you
likes,
like
trade
like
follows.
my thing,
Right.
I will look at your profile and say, oh, you like this, so I'll go
Yeah.
like whatever your
I guess
shit
for me,
is.
it's like it's sort of an unspoken rule. I didn't know that we were saying it out loud, but yeah, I guess like when somebody follows me on Twitter, I'm like, all right, if you're something that is reasonably okay,
No, some people have to be told.
Well, so the thing is, you're bribing people to like you. you. It's not that
Right.
you're going to not return it. It's the idea that you're like, hey, if you're on the fence about taking 4 seconds of effort to express your mild interest in the thing that I do, I will also take 5 seconds to express my mild interest in the thing that you do.
And that's where babies come from.
Yeah, and that's how you get 1 million Instagram followers. And
that, which is the point of all of this content production, is to reach 1 million shallow followers.
well, it's really interesting actually when you're looking at the role of content producers, right? And I think that we're finally kind of catching up where enthusiast media is being recognized as having kind of an intrinsic financial value to the corporate world, right? So, for so long, like it's funny because I'm a really bad anti-capitalist. In
You're
theory,
so good at it?
No, I'm not good at it because I don't care. But like, I like the theory of how these things fit together, right? And so you have people that are really excited about a thing, right? And then they talk about how excited they are about a thing, and like, if you have enough people listening to you talking about that, like you're measurably increasing the sales or revenue or something of a product or service or company or whatever, right? And so companies for so long have been like happily allowing people to do this, right? And they're like, oh, I'll send you a free game, or like, oh, check out this, new book or whatever, right? And then you're like, holy shit, this book's great. And you tell all your people, and we've long since established that the most effective form of advertising is sort of like peer suggestion and review and that kind of stuff, right? Word of mouth, right, is by far the most effective way. And so, for the price of a game, I could get someone to word of mouth recommend my shit to like so many people, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's really good that a lot of these content creators, the paradigm has shifted a little bit, and a lot of these content creators are actually fucking making money. And the companies are like, we're going to take care of you because you're going to do this thing. Like, it's no longer like, hey, we're going to send you a free pair of sunglasses and you like take Instagram photos with it. It's like, we're going to pay you a bunch of money to take pictures with these sunglasses, right?
So how does that work in the game market? How do you make any money?
Well, so tabletop is very weird compared to digital. And which aspect are we talking about making money?
Making money in anything. Where do I buy that piece of divorce paper?
Well, so you can just download it for free.
That's the problem.
Prettiestprincessgames.com. Well, what's interesting,
I mean,
right?
he's a communist, so it's going to be tricky uphill battle for him.
Well,
his businesses.
So the thing is that it is. So to be clear, like I do other things that make money. And even just purely speaking about game design, right? Like I just had an X-Files game come out, right? I love the X-Files and it was really fucking exciting to do it. But also like they paid me like adult money to do the thing.
Who paid you? X-Files?
No, so IDW, which is a huge comics publisher.
I just referred to X-Files as a person.
Yeah.
Who paid you? X-Files?
Mr. X-Files?
Listen, Chris Carter.
Was it Mulder?
I mean, it's Chris Carter's nickname. It's fine. But no, so IDW. You guys don't know IDW? Like they publish all the Ninja Turtle comics and like
yeah, I don't know.
They're like if you're into comics, they're like they are. So there's like the Marvel DC, right? Like the code of fucking kings of the castle.
Once like your
and then you have second
Dark
tier.
Horse,
So Image, Dark Horse, IDW is like the other one.
Okay,
and then maybe to a lesser extent Oni. But like, yeah, they're on that tier. Right?
Okay.
Like they do a lot of cool shit. They do a lot of licensed stuff. They have like a Back to the Future comic. They do, like all kinds of stuff. And so they started a game division a few years ago. And they've been doing some really cool stuff. And they were like, hey, do you want to make this X-Files game? And I was like, fuck yeah, I want to make this X-Files game. But that pays real money, right? So when we're talking about the weird single paper divorce stuff, this is like 100% like art project shit.
Right.
This is stuff that I'm just making because I like making it. And I get, the extent, like, so the whole vision with what was previously Prettiest Princess Games, or still is, I guess, but is now going to be Killjoy, is that money is only relevant to our decision-making process insofar as we need to be generating enough money so that we can keep doing cool shit.
Right.
Right.
Of course,
Like we're not going to not make something that we're really excited about because we're not sure it's going to be a hit or this or that. Right. And we're happy to subsidize, some of the more out there projects that we're really passionate about with some of the like accidental hits. Right. So you know, I had this one game that came out, and I actually sold it to somebody else. So I did a bunch of them. I sold a bunch, and then I sold I didn't want to reprint it. I sold it off to somebody else, and like that money subsidized, you know, making this weird game about divorce, right? Or you know, things. I guess weird game about divorce didn't really cost that much. Although actually, New Haven relevant. Craig Gilbert did the art for it. So I don't know if you know Craig, you guys. He did. He's like
Not by
artist.
name,
He's an
but-
artist around New Haven.
Yeah.
He does a lot of stuff with New England Brewing. He probably did this can that we're looking at right now. Actually,
Okay.
I'm looking at this. This is 110% his art.
Nice.
So he did this can of Spin Cycle. For New England Brewing Co., a local excellent beer manufacturer. So he did the Gandhi bot, right? He did the original Gandhi bot stuff. Like I think it was actually his branding idea.
By the way, Nebco, I am still looking for sponsors, so by all means.
Yeah. Do you know those guys?
Not really, no.
Shut them up. They'll give you $100 to put a fucking ad on the
Probably,
site
yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
They're pretty chill. But
So
yes.
I don't know anything how the game process works. Like, I think of an idea. What do I pay to make that into a game? And
Well,
who's making?
I mean,
Physical-
game design is like a
physical
whole
boards and
theory.
pieces.
Like there are many books.
Well, so
No, I know
theory-
all the stuff. That, I mean, the nuts
I'll
and
just
bolts
give you. I'll
from
just
the,
give you. I'll
the
give you the
economic
fucking,
standpoint.
Yeah,
of-
here's the pipeline. Right? So let's. So you have an idea, you make an idea, you play test the shit out of it, you develop it, you do all this stuff, right? So eventually, you know, and this is a much longer conversation. One of the things we didn't talk about is that I teach game design at Quinnipiac. So we figured it out. People are paying, cause it's like $62,000 a year to go to Quinnipiac, and credits. We did the math, and basically like the class that I teach is generating anywhere from like $20,000 to $40,000 per section that I teach. And so I'm usually teaching 2 sections a year. I do not get paid that.
yeah, no, adjunct professors do not make any money.
Yeah, but for someone who's not looking for a career in academia, it's like it's an amazing side thing. Like I love teaching. I feel bad for people that are like, I want to be a tenure professor. I'm
Right, that
adjuncting
whole
until
thing.
then. Like it's not a livable wage if you are just an adjunct.
Yeah.
Right,
Unless you're teaching a ton of classes at multiple universities so that you don't hit the limit. Like you're at the limit at like 3 different universities because they don't let you teach more than X number of 2 or 3 classes, right? And yeah, it's fucking rough.
Yeah.
But for me, it's fucking great because I love it. It's wonderful. I feel good about it.
Yeah, my
I really have a
father's
great
like an
time.
adjunct professor at UHart, and he's like, even when he retires, he's like, I'm still going to teach. It's just like super fun.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
just,
great.
you know,
It's
something
great.
to engage.
Yeah, I taught at
you
Gateway for a while. It was awesome. It was
Yeah, exactly.
easier than regular jobs.
You hear
At the
that,
college-
teachers?
Well, no, here's the thing.
Easy.
Well, so here's the thing. At a
College
at a
teachers.
college level, yeah. Let's make a real clear
big
distinction. That at college level, when people
Therefore,
are paying to be there and
Elementary
they're
school is the
adults,
easiest.
yeah, exactly.
It actually slides backwards.
So yeah, exactly. It's the thing is like I have kids that are just like, I didn't do the work, and I'm like, well, you got a fucking F, man. Like, what do you want me to say? Like,
Yeah. It's your
okay,
money.
right? Like, yeah, no, exactly. And it's like, you know, so all the problems of classroom management, engagement, whatever, you're just like, yeah, that's cool, man. Like college is like the college doesn't give a shit. They're like, oh, I mean, that dude didn't do any work. I guess he flunked out, and we're going to not let him be here anymore.
Yeah.
So you were into game design way before you opened Elm City Games, as I'm understanding it.
Yeah. So Elm City Games, is a really exciting side part of my career. So Trish, who is also my ex-wife,
And that's who the game is about?
yeah, well, sort of. We didn't have kids, and we
Right.
didn't have like we didn't have money. Like money's in the game.
How about that
And we
poor
had
dog?
We had that's the rough part, right? So she left. She came back.
Did you slice him in half?
Well, no, it's okay now because
He's
she
still
came,
a bit heartbroken.
So she came. Well, I am,
Yeah.
but she came back and is my best friend now. And so we actually opened Elm City Games. I opened Elm City Games, and she was helping me. And then it was like, you're doing all this fucking work. Like, you get to be a partner now. Like,
Yeah.
great, here you go. And this is where this is where I'm really shitty at capitalism. I was like, you're really helping me out here. Like, how about I give you half of the company?
Nice.
Take 100% of the proceeds.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, like, I mean, I'm just not. I want to make enough money to not really stress about it, but I'm also never going to because I like feel weird making money. I had a call with a
Yeah, you're not, like you said, you're not a capitalist. It's not your.
I want to make cool stuff.
And you and I have had some interesting arguments on Facebook about various political things. Always respectful, I think.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. If anybody comes to the table with a level of good faith that you want the world to be a better place, you think all human beings are kind of equal, and just there's basic levels of kind of like what I would consider human decency. Right. I would love to talk all day about the role of the state in a social safety net. That's fine. Like that's because if we're coming at it from the same place of, we don't want kids to starve. We don't want cops to murder minorities. We don't want.
Now, what if those kids are a different religion than me, though? is that not okay? I'm confused.
if they're evangelical Christians, I don't know, man. But
I always sort of meant it. But yeah, all right, that's good too.
No, but I think that something that has been weirdly lost in our current political debate is this sense of like human decency. Right?
Sure.
And this is there's a lot of problems with this. Don't take this out of context, but like I miss, I guess, a time that I was not around for, but like sort of like the Barry Goldwater style conservatism, right? Like George Will, people that are coming to these things and have dramatically different ideas,
but it's like an
and that I do. But it's like
you're saying you miss intelligent politicians. That's what you're saying?
Yeah. Well, no, even less than that, or even lower bar than that. Maybe, I don't know, that I miss like a populist that has a sense of basic human decency, right? Like when we're having a debate about like what does a welfare state look like? What is the right choice here? And we're like, oh, Sweden, like they do some cool shit. And then the other side is like, let them starve to death. Like that's like, we're not going to have a good conversation.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so, I think that capitalism has generated a bunch of really cool things. I think it is morally bankrupt, but it is also like, whatever, man. Like,
yeah, we don't have to get into the deep economic analysis here. It's not exactly what we're here for.
So my ex-wife and I, after she came back, not back
divorce,
like
guys.
not back in a love way. Well, in a love way, not back in a together way.
Nice light topic.
She, I brought her on with Elm City Games, and she was there from the start. It was just kind of officially recognizing that she was really doing a shit ton of work, and at this point, she does way more of the work. She's 100% the managing partner.
Traveling, and
I'm out doing other stuff that makes no money.
Right. Sure.
Are you doing stuff promoting Elm City Games, or just all your other adventures?
Mostly all the other stuff. I mean, the thing is, the thing that's nice is when you are like sort of involved in a scene of something.
Yeah.
All of the things kind of feed into each other, right? And so having the Elm City Games raises my rep in, like as a game designer, as a game developer, as a professor, right? Mm-hmm. And then being a professor, adjunct, not a real professor.
No.
For those of you that get mad about that stuff.
That's big.
Dr. Fantastic.
Here's the thing. I actually am the honorable. We can get back to that in a second. I'm legally the honorable. And Fantastic is my legal middle name. I feel like that was a question. We're going to get to that.
It was not a question. Someone's question.
A listener's question. A listener's question that I want to make sure we get to.
Sad thing is that Facebook commenter is not going to listen to this.
Was it Dave? Was it Dave? I think it was Dave.
Yeah, I think it was Dave. Dave probably will listen. Well, you were talking about like cross, like, because I've actually found the same thing. Like me writing the blog and having the podcast makes me a better comic, makes me more like they're all connected. They're symbiotic. Like they make me better at the other things that I'm doing.
So I think even more than yes, absolutely. But like, I think where I am is even a higher integration of that sort of thing.
You're better than me.
No.
His is way better than yours.
No, what I'm saying is that like your thing is like it's helping you hone your craft.
Right.
And it's also, and there's also more of your community involvement, being involved in multiple communities is all helping all those things. Right. For me, even more than that, it's like, well, I'm a game professor and a game designer. So I'm immediately taken more seriously as a professor because I'm a designer. I'm immediately taken more seriously as a designer because I'm a professor. And then, I'm immediately taken more seriously because I also own a game cafe, right? Like, like all of these things sort of, it's like, it's a really weird confluence of events that have kind of come together relatively recently and made me like really weirdly respectable in these fields. Cause it all just feeds each other, and it's this fucking feedback loop of respectability where it's like, I did this, I did that. And it's like, I just got asked, and I am going to be doing a teaching fellowship in China
Cool. Of course.
doing game design stuff in between, basically during like the winter break.
Nice.
I am missing Christmas.
Yeah. I mean,
And it's great. I asked my mom, Christmas is a big deal to me.
okay.
Like, not because I like Christ or anything, like keep that fucker out of Christmas. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Communist.
But atheist gift exchange day,
that's nice.
family fun. I don't know. I love
Do you
it.
give out a lot of board games?
Do I? Yo, I mean,
What do you think? Yeah.
Like, come on, man. Of course I
Do you
do.
think
sitting
you're
in
like
that
nieces
shop.
and nephews who aren't fans of board games are like, oh, thanks.
Come on,
Thanks,
there's gotta be
Uncle
worse,
Matt.
like,
Oh yeah,
uncles than-
totally.
yeah.
But whatever. There's the one that's really into it.
$50 would have been really cool, but
Yeah, well, you know what? This
Thanks.
cost me $8, so there you go. No, I mean, I'm fortunate that my family is actually all really into games. We're going to get to that too. That was a question. Did I grow up in a gaming family?
we don't have to answer any of those internet.
Yeah,
No,
I
I
was
want
like,
to.
are we
I
gonna
want
get
to.
to any of those
I want to.
things?
Well, we can at least do it
obligation.
rapid fire.
I think
if we
we're
need
gonna. Yeah.
to. Yeah, I'm long.
Pull that up.
This
somehow?
is a two-parter. Did you not know? Because
Oh,
remember,
man.
you're not
Don't you
recording
have to be
off
somewhere.
Listen, you're not recording often enough.
This is going to
Like,
get cut
this is
down
hard
to
to stretch it.
45
2
seconds,
you wanna-
actually.
yeah, it's gonna be like, oh,
Did you play Monopoly as a kid?
of course, all the time.
What was your go-to piece?
So I really liked the dog.
Interesting.
But then I was in the neighborhood and I found a copy of Monopoly for the NES. So I played it, right? It worked, which was insane. I was like, this is the greatest day of my entire life. Like, I got a free Nintendo game in the street.
yeah.
It was Monopoly, so it was less exciting than
Right.
it could have been.
Yeah.
But it was like still free NES game, right? And so I brought it home, played it, and it had kind of like a little animation for the different, pieces. And, the dog just, walked, like, obviously, right? The hat, a little rabbit, like half a rabbit popped out and like ran.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, from now on, I'm the hat.
There you go.
Yeah. So I actually have a very specific.
Yeah.
feelings.
I once found a Super Nintendo in the woods on Edgewood Avenue. And now it's making me wonder, was there some mom out there just tossing the kids' games out or something?
That's
Probably.
weird.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a weird one. That's a weird one. Because like porn in the woods
Yeah. That's like a known.
is
thing.
like a known
Yeah.
thing.
Oh, really?
But you
Yeah.
understand. You're like, oh yeah, you went to jack off in the woods or whatever, I
Right.
guess.
I mean,
Sure,
it's hard if
sure,
you don't
man.
have the privacy of your own home and you're like a kid. I think. It's like a
Yeah, and
hiding
you
spot.
and you pay
Oh
it
boy,
forward.
Josh
put it by
jacked
the
off in
old-
the woods.
Oh, I didn't have access. You had to have
To
like
the
a
woods?
friend. Well, I do have plenty of access to the woods. I don't have access to porn.
To his penis.
Yeah, yeah. My parents made me wear this
The
chastity
chastity-
belt.
yeah,
It
the
was
chastity
fucking
belt.
brutal.
Tight.
Yeah, you wouldn't think because we weren't religious. They were just
the
mean,
crank me not.
You know, they just. Anyway, we're getting a little off track here. Okay, so Elm City games. So like, all right, for me, I loved games. From a child. Like I played. God, what was that game? It was like Dungeon something. Like,
Josh,
it was
how-
like-
Dungeon.
How old were you when you were born, Josh?
Hero Quest.
I don't remember. Hero Quest. That is exactly what I was thinking of.
I mean, we're close enough in age. If we're not
Right.
the exact same age, we're
Yeah.
close enough that we have all the same touchstones.
But I remember buying these D&D books at a tag sale down the street, but they were like of various versions, and I could never quite figure out how
There's
the
a
game
lot of pages.
worked. Right. There were so many, and I was like 12, and I wanted to play, but it was like the only people I had to play with were my friends who knew less about it than me, and so I basically never really played. And then recently, I was actually at Elm City Games, and I saw the Player's Handbook, and I'm like, you know what? I fucking want this book. Like, I remember reading it as, if nothing else, the nostalgia of reading the rules of D&D, which is insane. But I was like, yeah.
Monster manuals are kind of like the best.
Monster manuals are the best. Yeah. Oh man. That's just like good stuff. Especially the super powerful monsters. Like, oh, it's so cool.
I know so much stuff about the 9 planes of hell thanks to the original D&D monster manual that
Yeah.
I had when I was a little kid.
I think the second version is pretty fancy. But so I'm thinking about getting into this. Like, how do I, as a person, like it's intimidating to just show up at a game. Like, cause do I pre-make my character?
Yeah,
or
so it's
do
terrifying.
I-
So D&D in general is they've been trying to do a better job of it.
Yeah.
But it's really the kind of game that you want someone to teach you how to play.
Right.
Because the big secret about D&D and role playing in general, but especially, like very in this case of D&D, it's super fucking easy to play D&D, but it's it's not the easiest to create a character.
Yeah.
And it's really not easy to like get a full understanding of all the rules, right?
Right.
But the thing is, like that's the DM's job, right? So if you show up with a pre-generated character, you know, like I can just give you one. Oh, you want to be a elf ranger? Like, oh, you want to be whatever, you know, like, you want to be a cleric and heal people? Great. Here's this thing.
People like already have an adventure going on because they're like, oh, we're not taking level ones.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
But just D&D in general.
They already get called Noob a lot, right?
This is not the scene that's going to push that one. But just this fear of role playing it's totally reasonable.
Yeah.
But really what it all comes down to is you just tell me what you want to do.
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, there's a goblin. He came out. Like, he's like swinging a sword at you. And you're like, I'm going to punch him right in the fucking face. And I'm like, great. Roll this die. No, roll this die. Yeah. See that number right there? Add that to that. Yeah. And then I tell you whatever happened. Right. Like, you don't need to know shit. Yeah. You need to know, like, because it's storytelling, right? It's a collaborative storytelling experience. Mm-hmm. And when you approach it as a collaborative storytelling experience and not a quote unquote game, you can just kind of relax about the rules, right? And the rules are there to kind of create a way to adjudicate conflict, right? Yeah. Because we're talking, I want to walk through the door. Yeah. Well, okay, cool. You walk through a door. You don't need to make a check, right? Oh, but the door is locked. Well, I'm going to try to break it down. Okay, cool. Like that's now opposed. So we need to resolve that conflict,
the door
right?
Is an 8 armor class or whatever.
Well, just whatever the mechanic is, right? Yeah. Oh, I'm trying to stab that goblin. Well, he doesn't want to fucking get stabbed, like newsflash, right? So you need to roll to see if you are good enough to stab him this particular time. But you roll a die. I tell you which number to add. Boom. We resolve it.
I guess what I'm saying is, like, how do I, like, for me, it's intimidating. Like, I walk in Elm City Games, I see games already going on or whatever. Like, how do I make that initial, like, foray?
You just roll a 20-sided die on the table and you're like, I'm here.
Pretty much.
17 looks like I'm friends with you guys now.
Standard size is 16 millimeter. So if you roll up with like a 32 and you're just like, hey.
There you go.
It's just your immediate. You're now the new
games
dungeon
are just like
master.
Any other community.
You're the dungeon master now. But no, so I can't speak for everyone else in the industry. It's different people have varying levels of this. Some people are better, some people are worse.
Roughly your store, right?
But we're gonna say,
like, if I walk into your store.
What I'm gonna say is, you walk in
California, dude.
You walk into Elm City Games. And you say, hey, I want to play D&D. Or you send me an email or a message on Facebook or whatever. Mm-hmm. So the first thing you can do is you can join the Facebook group, Elm City Role Playing, right? Okay. Everybody in there is super helpful, happy to answer questions. We have all kinds of information for you. But basically, what we're going to tell you to do is show up. We ask you to RSVP because we just want to make sure that, because you need DMs for players, so we just want to make sure that we are accurately kind of representing how many tables there's going to be. So we just kind of do like a little matchmaking kind of thing. So if we have 4 people that said they want to run games, we have RSVPs up so that a dozen people don't show up when there's only room for 6, right? Yeah. Although we're getting usually between 15 to 25-ish people twice a week. Wow. So we have Thursdays and Sundays. But yeah, so we'll say here it's just an Eventbrite thing. It doesn't cost anything. It's just so we make sure to kind of keep account.
I just need to either be a member or get a day pass, right?
Well, there's money. That's whatever.
Forget it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Give it to us. Trish will be mad at me. But
she gets half.
Well, it's great because she's like, I'm pretty into like socialism, whatever, and then I'm like, are you? But so we get you RCP'd, right? So that's kind of a quirk of our system because we don't like people to show up and then not be able to play. Yeah. Then we're like, what do you want to play? And you're like, this thing. This kind of archetype. Everybody, people don't have the most complicated archetypes, right?
Yeah, sure. So especially on the beginning.
Exactly. You don't start with this and we say, okay, cool. Here's a character that's been made for you. It has all the basic stuff figured out. Mm-hmm. You can keep your experience that you have while you're learning to play. And then once you learn how to play, you can change all this stuff around in a way that now makes sense, right? Yeah. Because you don't know what a fucking, if you don't know D&D,
World of Warcraft would charge you for
is
that
a 16 armor class good? Well, I don't fucking know, man, right?
Seems high.
So but you know what I mean?
It is good.
It is relatively high for first level. But
it's like in relation to a 20-sided die. Sounds pretty
Colin
good.
Has never read the books. It's just
I have read the books.
Have
in
you?
Fact.
Oh yeah.
Wow. See, the problem when we would play D&D as a kid, my brother was the dungeon master.
Well, he was probably just a dick.
We didn't play with like a lot of. I don't think we played with the official rules.
You hear that,
just,
Colin's brother? You're a dick.
Yeah. Nah, he's good. He's a good guy.
Are we talking about Ethan or the other?
Ethan. Yeah. But we'd only play with the same 3 people. Yeah. Plus him, so no one wanted to die. so no one would ever die. Because that would be like, then
Well, you
someone
can make a
dies,
new
you're like,
one.
oh my God, 25% of the people are gone now.
Well, they come
You know,
back. You make a new guy. You can raise dead. There's that is a
Ways
recognized,
around it.
It's like
there's a
comics,
that's a
everybody's dead
recognized
forever.
flaw in the overall system,
Right.
And there are ways that it's handled.
Okay.
But I love that. I love that because I feel like a lot of us were there. Right? I grew up in a gaming family, but I feel like so many people that are like other nerds, like so gaming was less it for me. But I feel like all of us that were kind of like nerdy in like the 80s when you didn't have the internet and it was like some weird kid that you saw at school and you were like, hello, fifth grader, I see that you're wearing a shirt with a dragon. Do you know anything about the dungeons as well? Right? Like, and that like it was this real journey for all of us and we kind of like wanted to do all this stuff because it was fucking cool, but like we didn't necessarily know how to do it like well or properly, right? So when I learned how to play Magic, so when Magic first came out, I was in, I believe, 6th grade.
Yeah, I think it was like 6th or 7th grade.
Yeah. It was like 6th or 7th grade, exactly. I was in middle school.
And then all my money was gone.
Oh, no, it was definitely 6th grade. It was definitely, for me, I definitely got into Magic in 6th grade. I remember now. But so when we first started playing, for those of you that don't know anything about Magic, just like now is the time to go pee. Or, like whatever.
Fast forward.
Jerk
or
off
just
in the woods.
listen and
Jerk off in the woods.
yourself.
Jerk off in the
Learn
woods.
something for
Please.
once in your life.
Just-
God.
Hey, you should jerk off in the woods.
You'll probably find a Super Nintendo.
Yeah. So basically we thought that you spent mana, like it discarded every time you used it. And then we also didn't realize that you didn't have to play with all of your cards.
Oh.
And so like
you
we were
just
just like,
had
we're
this
playing
massive
Magic,
card.
and we'd have a fucking stack of like hundreds
So
of
many
cards,
blue
and
cards
games,
they don't want.
and games would take for fucking
Yeah.
ever because
God.
well, every time you had, I have 3 mana, like let me discard this now to cast this spell. Like we just had no idea what we were doing, right?
There's such a barrier of entry with Magic. Like I didn't play for years, and then I had some friends at my last job who played, and they basically played in a draft style where basically you would buy a box together. And like
drafting's great,
right? And then you would only have those cards. There was no like incentive to go buy more. And then like kind of each time that we got together, we would open up another pack, and like you would just grow your stuff that way.
Crazy imbalance, yeah.
Right? Exactly. So it was
drafting is, I think, once you learn how to play at a basic level, I think drafting is 100% the best way to play Magic, the best way to continue learning and growing as like a player or whatever. Like drafting is the best.
Yeah,
I love it.
I didn't have a lot of people to play with, so I would just constantly make decks.
Yeah, that's great too. I mean, and that's the thing. Like, I think
And
it all
then I would
speaks
play
to
that
this.
divorce game and just see what my parents would split up between the game. I would just push the things into different categories. That was fun. That's what I would do after I would make decks for 4 hours.
There's a lot going on here.
You played with 2 cars in the game of life. One of them was really fast and reckless. The other one just gave you bikes.
Yeah.
So one thing I did want to talk about.
Wait, those are probably the same, actually. The other one that gave you love.
Are there any games that I would
Gave you
get
bike.
shooed out of Elm City Games for bringing? Like if I
No.
showed up with
No.
my Pog collection, would
No,
you
actually,
just,
so
like,
I have
kick me down the stairs throwing slammers at me on the way out?
My Pogs, or at least the ones I could find, are at Elm City Games right now because one of the weird projects we're working on is potentially doing something with Pogs.
Really?
Yeah. We're thinking about doing an industry-wide thing where it's primarily done as a promotion at conventions.
Uh-huh.
And so a company will have some basic ones, but a company will pay to get sheets printed of Pogs that are like, like Munchkin Pogs, and then like, D&D Pogs, and they'll pay to be a part of this overall thing, and they can do however they want to promote those, like, hey, you have to sign up for our mailing list or play a demo, or we don't fucking care, just come by the booth, like, to get this cool sheet of Pogs. And then everybody's at the convention like playing Pogs, but they're like, oh, I really want this one, it was hard to get, that kind of thing.
Would you say that Pogs are back?
They're gonna be.
Is
I'm
Alf
excited.
back in Pog form? That's what I care about. Yeah.
So since we're talking about divorce so much, the day we got divorced, Trish came back to New Haven. We went to the courthouse. We walked down the block to Liffey's, and we did 2 shots of Jameson, and then had a beer, and then we went and got divorce tattoos.
Wow. Your life is so different than mine. In many ways.
featuring a line from the best Simpsons episode.
Okay, which is
Among many greats, which is when Milhouse's parents get divorced.
that was a pretty good one.
And so we got it. And actually, it's the shittiest tattoo either of us have. Like the dude that did it was a fucking hack.
Yeah.
which is great because we have like a lot of, I think, pretty good tattoos and see
Yeah.
like world-class people.
You got to have a couple of shit ones, though, right? That's just the rule if you're going to get that many.
So this guy, because we went that after, who was going to tattoo us this afternoon, right?
Right.
So we got crackers, like heart-shaped crackers, sort of cracking in the middle, like a broken heart.
Yeah.
And it says crackers are a family food.
Nice. Yeah. Do single people eat crackers? I don't know. We don't know. We don't want to know.
And frankly, we don't care.
That's right. Oh man, is that the same episode where Millhouse?
So
was
that's it.
Pants?
So that's it. Goodbye and good luck. I don't recall saying good luck.
Oh man, that is. God.
Yes, that is also everything's coming up.
Pants.
Millhouse.
Yeah, everything's coming up. Millhouse. God, that's right.
My mixtape. Can I borrow a feeling?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
it is literally the
Jar
it is
of
because here's the thing. It is hilarious.
Pretty sad.
But it is so fucking real.
Yeah.
And it is like real in like the darkest way. Like I sleep in a race car. Well, I sleep in a bed at home with my wife. Like,
I sleep in a
whoa,
big bed
man.
with my wife.
Yeah. Like if you've ever been divorced or even just like broken up with in a very sad situation, like, yeah, man, like, oh, it gets you. Like I loved it.
Did you get a race
up.
car bed?
I did not. I kept my same bed.
It's even worse.
It was bigger.
Nice. So
I invited guests.
Okay, it's good. Oh, it's fun. So one of the things I did want to talk about is inclusiveness in gaming. So obviously,
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like I'm a software developer, and the board game community, like the software development community, tends to be pretty white, pretty male. You know what I mean? Just kind of like. Some sense it's just like the origins of like nerd culture. You know what I mean? Kind of self-selected, probably.
Yeah, I
from
mean,
youth.
there's a lot to it. I mean, I think more of it is less self-selected and more sort of like socioeconomic reflective. That like who could afford computers?
Yeah,
Well,
that's
it
true.
wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
And probably young girls are discouraged from being involved in like you can't play with us, girl.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
exactly.
go play with your doll.
It's
Classic
institutionalized.
insult. Girl.
Yeah. It's
Can you tell I didn't know any girls?
it's very much institutional
Yeah.
stuff.
All right. Yeah, that's fair.
But so gaming. This is really funny. Well, this is really funny timing because I just got embroiled in a bit of a thing that's great. So Gen Con, which is I think it's the second biggest sort of like fan convention in the U.S. and definitely the biggest game focused convention in the U.S. And it is they just announced their special guests this year. And this year the theme is like change in gaming, something about like sort of like people that are really making things happen in gaming, right? And so one of the guests is this guy that did Roll20, which is a digital tabletop for playing D&D effectively, right? And there's been a bunch of them, but this one really caught on. It's great, right? This is a real innovative kind of thing, right? Like, or big change because of this. Another one is this guy, Jordan Weisman. He has done a bunch of stuff in tabletop and digital. He was a fucking Disney Imagineer, like just a brilliant dude.
Not a real job title.
No, it is.
No, I know
It's the
they
best.
made it one, but come on, it's not.
It's actually the best. For all none of your Disney listeners.
Yeah. I know there's probably a couple.
What is a Disney listener? A child? Is that what we're saying?
It's probably not a lot of
people that
children,
work people
I
that
hope.
work at the House of Mouse, as it were.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Disney employees probably not many. Yes.
Yeah. Another guest they announced is Anita Sarkeesian, who I hope I'm pronouncing correctly. She does Feminist Frequency. She is one of the leading voices in sort of talking about toxic masculinity in gaming and sort of like, sort of feminist critique of things in gaming, and just absolutely brilliant, super on point, like really respected academically,
Highly
really respected,
harassed.
so highly harassed.
Yeah.
Go be a girl.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's
like the word,
bad,
like to the
People do
point
not
where the
treat her well.
FBI is like involved to like relocate.
Well, she was
secretly,
involved
like,
in all that Gamergate
the
stuff.
Gamergate
right?
stuff. Yeah. She is brutally, just dragged into this just trash. And so she was announced as one of the guests for this sort of like theme of change and whatever. And it's like, yeah, are you fucking
Good
kidding me?
guess.
Of course.
Yeah,
This
makes
is
sense.
perfect, right? So we all know what happened next, and that is that, the alt-right troglodyte misogynists freaked out, like real hard, right?
Yeah.
And obviously, so I'm someone who is a really vocal, I would say like hard line, like
Yeah, no, you definitely are a pro punch Nazis kind of guy. If you're not
Very
sure
much.
about Matt, I know some of you are like, oh, is it okay to punch Nazis? Matt is definitely on the pro punching side.
I mean, we literally sell shirts that say punch Nazis.
yeah. So I'm more like on the fence because I'm generally nonviolent, but
I'm cool with all
I
that
don't
too.
feel great about what the Nazis did to like my family personally and a bunch of other people.
you definitely got out of it by hearing out their thoughts and then debating them.
Right. No.
You were like, hey, listen, man, this isn't actually cool.
Right.
And Hitler's like, oh, yeah.
Right. So, I think
My
that there's-
bad.
Yeah. I mean,
Mine bad?
I
Is that-
want to believe we're not there yet in America, but we'll see.
Point being, I think
Yeah.
honestly, I think there's a really, really important role for a spectrum of kind of approaches to this.
Yeah.
But the thing for me, honestly, and to go wildly off topic here for a second, is that it is. I think some of us need to get dirty. And I do not think that I have the moral high ground necessarily, but I do believe that we are in crisis mode, and that the fact is these cheaty, dirty motherfuckers are going to do whatever, right?
Yeah.
And when the argument is we want to murder
The moral
you,
high ground is not.
I don't.
worth
Yeah,
a
exactly.
lot if
The
you
moral
don't win.
high ground is great if if you're not dead.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
And I fear that these things are happening, and that like like looking at this thing with Gen Con, right? Like there are people that are making, like there was another thing with Origins that just happened where they uninvited a dude that they discovered was actually this really awful alt-right troll.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting like bomb threats. Like the FBI is now going to be like at this convention, like.
Right.
Because these are marginally credible threats, right? And there's enough of them that they're like, fuck,
Yeah.
and all these school shootings and stuff. I mean, it's a really crazy time
Yeah.
to have unpopular opinions to some of these fucking lunatics, right? And so there is a sense of danger. There is a sense of like, this is not a good scene. And for me personally, as a relatively larger gentleman, someone who sings in hardcore bands for a long time, which indicates a certain aggressiveness. Aggressiveness.
Yeah,
but then the bonus
Excitability, maybe.
Well, then the fun bonus that I taught Krav Maga for a number of years.
Okay.
And
Bit of an honorary Jew. That's good.
Yeah. Actually, my grandpa Henry and my grandma Eva, that were like, you have those fake relatives.
Yeah.
I was definitely like, I've led, like Passover seders.
Oh, wow. So you're more Jewish than me, really.
Yeah.
Were you the fake relative or them?
Hold on. Baruch etah Adonai melehenu olam va'en.
Nice.
Am I right?
I mean,
I
sure.
got no idea.
Yeah.
I feel like I might have fucked it up, but
That's
So
all right.
do you feel
I got
like
made fun of in middle school for not having a bar mitzvah.
Okay.
That is
wow.
this sort of multicultural environment I grew up
do
in.
you see any of that misogyny or anything in the local gaming community? Because this is like at the conventions
Well,
and
of
all
course.
that. Do you see it around here?
Oh, I just want to finish my thought about punching Nazis. And that is that that there are some of us who have, like, we all have roles, right? And there's conciliators, there's people that are going to make peace, there's people
You're
that
a
are
puncher.
and I'm pretty all right at punching people.
That's great. Yeah, I'm a bad puncher. I feel like I would
I'm
be
not
helping.
super tough. I'm not tough to people that are actually tough.
Yeah.
But like I'm tough to people that aren't, which is most of these fucking motherfuckers that are just
Yeah.
like terrified little idiots. And so me being like, hey man, you got a problem with her? Like, well, come fucking find me, because if I see you, I'm going to knock your fucking teeth out.
Nice.
And that is a thing that really deters a lot of this, because a lot of these people, they're like,
Yeah, they are hiding behind their keyboards.
Well, yeah, and it's really hard. It's a really tough move for you to threaten 100-pound girl who's like 19, and like, sure, man, but like, hey, like, I'll fucking punch back.
Right. Yeah.
There are definitely people on the industry who have been publicly put on notice that if they see me, they need to start swinging or start running.
Nice. All right. So how do we So how do we as a community do a better job? Like, is it just punching? Or are there other things that could be done?
There's a lot. I mean,
because again, I'm a poor puncher personally.
I mean, more than
I guess
anything,
I could learn at this age, but it just feels like I probably have other skills.
It's good. It's good.
What I prefer to do is antagonize someone so they want to punch me and then run.
And then they punch you, and I'm like, well, I'm justified.
Right, exactly.
And then I feel better about it. I was going to do it anyway, but then I feel better about myself if they hit you first.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Perfect. Yeah.
Well, so there's so many different things that can be done, right? And I think first and foremost is listen and believe women when they talk about this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So many of us, and I struggled with this too, right? You don't want to think that these things are going on. You don't want to we don't understand what it's like, right?
Yeah, I had to have my sister open my eyes. Like, I was like, oh, like, I remember this conversation so clearly. I was like, oh, so what do you, like, get catcalled once in a great while? I was just like, are you fucking kidding me right now? Like, this is like a near daily occurrence of my life. Just guys shouting shit at me all the time. And I'm like, holy shit. And like, I mean, yeah. So I had to believe it was my sister. I was like, but I mean, you don't want to believe.
You don't want to believe it. That's the thing.
That's
the thing. It's not quite cognitive dissonance, but it's very much a situation where it's like, well, I don't want to believe that every woman in my life worries about getting raped, like, kind of every day. Yeah. Right. Like, what a fucking horrific thing to realize. Yeah. Right. And so the biggest thing I think, first step, and it makes a huge difference, is just like shut up and be like, holy shit, like, I'm listening to your experience and I'm horrified by that, and I empathize and whatever it is, like, I want to stop this, right? Because until so many people just don't even realize these things that are in their lives, right? Like, and being open to recognizing that there's a lot of other things going on than your experience is hugely important, right? And then I think recognizing as men that we have an immense privilege and have had that privilege our entire lives. And it's not like, oh, well, I should be rich because I have privilege, right? Sure. Like, no, like, fuck you, man. It is that, like, like, we don't worry about that stuff, right? Like,
people take me seriously. Like, for instance, I had a friend, and she left the engineering field to do finance because she's like, I felt like an engineering guy just dismissed me. Like, they wouldn't listen to my thoughts, or like, I would say a thought in a meeting and then somebody would just repeat that thought and they would get, like, a guy would get all the credit, and it was just like, I basically felt like invisible.
So like, have you ever been to like a dance club for the straight people?
Yeah.
I don't enjoy
like to dance
I love dancing. I don't go to straight clubs as much as possible. Partly because I like to dance with boys.
Right. But, I was like, I mean, I don't know.
But also because it's a way better time because how many sort of circles of dudes have you seen, like circles of like dude friends?
Like just dancing
kind of,
with each other,
protecting each other in a circle.
Oh
pattern.
Yeah, no, not too often.
Right. But like every fucking straight club
around, I would say.
Yeah, they're like fucking vultures.
Right.
Yeah. And around a circle of women who have arranged themselves in a manner to protect one another. Yeah. Right. Like what a fucking different experience. Right. Yeah. So just kind of accepting that the world is fucking bananas and terrible, and that we have this huge privilege, and fuck. Like, and it's not to say that we should feel terrible about it, or that we need to, give up what it is, or that we haven't struggled. Right. Like, it's just recognizing that the system is fucking tilted in our favor. Yeah. And that there's a lot of shit that we don't have to think about or deal with. Right. We want to go play a game online. Right. I might be called something rude because I'm bad at League of Legends, right? However,
League of Legends, I would say more than likely.
However, if I'm on there, I'm like, fuck you, you're 12.
Right. Yeah,
and I have a big boy voice.
Right.
And I can say things like that.
Yeah.
If you come on and your name, not even talking, your name is like anything remotely feminine. Yeah. Like, you are going to be harassed top to bottom.
Yeah.
Like, just the entire experience. Yeah. You can't even play the game with chat because you're going to have to block everyone. Absolutely. Right. And not everyone, right? I mean, this is the problem with these things, right? Is that it's a very small percentage, but they're so vocal and so horrific. Yeah. That it dominates these experiences, right? If 100 people don't try to rape you and one does, like, well, the one instance is gonna like
Right.
really cause a problem, right? And
if
so
we don't believe that one time,
Oh, God,
now it's
yeah.
just like, okay, well, now there's no consequences and the whole
yeah. I mean, I'm going through a thing right now. It's rough, man. It's rough.
Yeah.
There's people that you know, and you hear things and you're just like, oh God,
Yeah.
I don't want to believe that. Right.
Yeah.
How can we want to rationalize it away. We want to be like, oh, this isn't the worst. It can't be, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
Right. Like, oh, you know, and it's like, man, like it is, it's that bad.
Yeah.
Like, fuck.
All right. So
And-
I think
and-
this is a great segue into pizza, everybody who wants. Oh, man. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't need to do that.
Anyway,
But we are
to
getting
wrap
on
that
a
to
bit.
wrap
We
that
do
up
need to
to wrap that
move
up
on a bit.
specifically,
Yeah.
like dudes just need to fucking do
Listen
better.
a bit. Yeah. I'm with
Like
you.
listen, recognize you have privilege, and allow people that are suffering these things to kind of
exile
help tell
shitty
you what to
dudes
do.
in your
Yeah,
life.
it's really fun to lead the charge and be in front,
Yeah.
and be like, I'm doing these things for women, right?
Right.
But it's way harder to just like shut the fuck up and get no credit and just be a decent human being.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. We had such a great time with Matt Fantastic. We actually split this into 2 separate episodes. So thank you so much for listening. The second half will come out next week. It's a little more lighthearted, so that's fun. And we play a bunch of games, and we learned about New Haven and pizza and all that good stuff. So we will see you next week, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thanks.
Busy people and lots of yellies, Worcester hipsters and fat up townies. We have more than pizza in common, with 2 rocks for bookends. New Haven, New Haven, New Haven, between 2 rocks. Ba-da-da-da, 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 ba-da-da-da. Between 2 rocks.